And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin of Lakers Daily, joined by Aaron Larsoul of All Access Lakers, of the Lakers, of your hopes and dreams. If you are relying on him for information on these Lakers, Aaron, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. How you doing, brother?
It's another day, another cold that I got from my children.
Well, that I can't help with.
So my sister-in-law's like best friend, like high school friend, lifelong friend, is in town from like Arizona or whatever. And they brought their kids. They've been here for a week. And we saw them over the weekend, and they're just like, obviously you see people you haven't seen in a while, you're giving them hugs and stuff like that. And then I go to give their kids like a hug, and both of them have just trails of snot. And I'm like, oh,
that's
cool.
Fun.
So my kids are going to get that, which means I am going to get that.
Yeah.
And now here I am with that. So that's
sounds
how
awesome.
I'm doing, Aaron. These
sounds awesome.
children just lick each other every time they see each other. Mm-hmm. And it just, there's just no way for the human immune system to keep up with toddlers. Other than that, you have on the stuff for today's show, we're going to be talking about D'Angelo Russell's interesting last, 24, 48 hours or so. We're going to talk about that piece and some of the quotes and comments from it. And we're going to talk about Darvin Ham's standing in that locker room again, apparently. And then I do want to talk about like actual basketball.
Okay.
Because we've had some of the conversations about Darvin Ham so often this year. I want to like move off of that and talk about what the Lakers can do to help Anthony Davis with some of these bigger hulking bigs that seem to take him out of his game, or are more equipped to take him out of his game than basically any other archetype of player. So that is going to be today's show. A reminder, please do hit that subscribe button. If you're listening in audio form, you can subscribe to this everywhere that you get your podcast, preferably Odyssey. And then if you are watching right now live, if you are watching on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge, and you can hit that subscribe button there. And if you're watching live on YouTube and you are a new person just checking this show out for the first time, please do hit that subscribe button right there. Hit that like button, all of those good things. And if you really, really want to be a part of this show, tomorrow is going to be yet another happy hour in the afternoon. And for it, depending on my voice, I'm a little nervous about how my voice is going to hold up for a full 45-minute solo show tomorrow. But if we do have a show, the plan is once again to rely on you guys to be a part of it, right? So I'll send a note out with a StreamYard link where you will be able to come on this show with me and go back and forth. If you want to go back and forth for the entirety of the show, cool. And more than one person is allowed on the stage at any given time. I think the most I can have is like 6. So just come on up and talk your stuff, and either get out if you want to, or stick around if you'd like to do that too. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started though with that D'Angelo Russell, or with those D'Angelo Russell comments. Aaron, did you read the piece? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you're talking about Mac 10's piece? Yeah, I did. I read most of it. I don't know that I read the whole thing, but I read 3/4 of it at least. Yeah.
You probably got the gist of it also from Twitter.
Also true, yes.
So the crux of it essentially is, Devin Booker just went down on his foot.
That's interesting and bad. Hold on, now see.
He's in the game. He's good. He's fine. It looked like it could have been really bad, but his foot didn't actually turn. So anyway,
he came down on his foot. All right.
Well, like he came down.
That's what it's supposed to do.
On somebody's foot, and like it looked like
on somebody else's foot. Okay.
Yeah, his foot on somebody else's foot.
Got it. Okay.
I guess I don't have to say his foot part, right? If he would have come down on something other than his foot,
that would be a different
part of his body, that would have been terrible.
Probably.
All right. So anyway, the D'Angelo Russell sits down with Dave McMenamin. I guess I do have to offer up this disclaimer because Harrison, at some point in his life or some point in a past life, was a lawyer and wanted me to say that these quotes weren't from yesterday specifically or whatever, but that they ran yesterday. They could have been from anywhere up to a few weeks ago, potentially. So we pick up though, and I think the most, I think, notorious quote or tidbit from it was the stuff that he said about Darvin and favoritism and Dennis Schroeder. And Trevor Lane of Lakers Nation then followed that up and said that there has been frustrations in the locker room about favoritism this year. I have reported a lot of that stuff over the course of the year as well, and all of that stuff. But before we even get to like the micro aspects of this, I want to stay kind of macro. I don't know how much experience you have dealing with a player going kind of rogue and offering up so much inside information on the locker room, like stuff that, like, details about what gets said in film room sessions and all of that stuff. It felt like voyeuristic almost, like I felt like as I was reading, I was like, I don't think we should be reading this. I don't think I should be privy to this information via an ESPN article. What is the typical, not even saying, we can talk about whether you think D'Lo crossed the line here or whatever, but like if a player does cross a line here, how does that usually go? Is it literally a player getting called into the principal's office and the principal being like, hey man, what the hell?
I think it depends on the player, depends on the relationship, and the context of whatever they have said. As you know, in your career now as a newsbreaker,
how dare you?
As you know, in your career as a newsbreaker, Dave's not going to run with that unless he is able to corroborate whatever was said. It doesn't mean it's right, but he's going to get it from multiple places. You can't go with it if you just have it in one place. Dave, in fact, asked me if I had, for one little tidbit, for one of the little tidbits that he used in the story, he asked if I could corroborate it. And I had heard something similar from Rob, but had not heard it specifically. So I told him I couldn't. So I think it depends. Like, you're not going to get called into the principal's office, as you say, to get scolded for the content, because you're not going to go with Dave's not going to go with it unless he hears it from multiple places. So it really depends on what was said. I don't know the potential fallout from this. Excuse me. I was not on the trip Sacramento, and then there's obviously just practice tomorrow, so that will be the first chance for everybody that does what you do, to, not you specifically, but does what you do, to follow up off of that. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine there's some people that are pretty frustrated with D'Lo. I mean, to be fair, this is kind of not the first time with D'Lo, not about Darvin specifically, but where D'Lo kind of says stuff that he probably shouldn't. And whether he's right or not isn't really the point here. I don't know what he's hoping to accomplish by putting it out there, other than if he just has an axe to grind, which also probably wouldn't be the first time with D'Lo. So yeah, I don't no. So I don't. The real answer is I don't know. And to your question, have I ever been around something like this? Yeah, I mean, I remember like Russ had a thing, with Frank, that was pretty unpleasant.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought him champagne, and for some reason he never liked me.
Yeah. So this kind of thing happens. It happens in the NBA. I'm trying to think of other examples. That's the only one I can think of specifically. My time with the Lakers, around the Lakers, but I'm trying to think if I in any Blazer days or brief Warrior stuff. No, I don't really remember anything like this. But that was, to be fair, this was I left the Blazers in 2012, so that was a different world. And
Yeah,
to be
sure.
fair, it's a different level of coverage and insight and desire for content with the Lakers as there was with the Blazers. So, I mean, this kind of thing happens in the NBA or the NBA now, but I do think that this is kind of a D'Lo thing also, if that makes sense.
I mean, I said it on yesterday's show that, I talked to somebody who had worked with D'Lo previously, and, that piece dropped, and I texted him and was like, what the hell? You've worked with this guy before. You have more kind of hands-on experience than I do with D'Lo. I've covered him briefly, right, when he was a Laker the first time around, and he was already kind of a difficult guy back then with the
Well, I mean,
media.
like, yeah, yes. Sorry to interrupt you, but yes, he was. But also, like, I mean, like, the big thing of his rookie season was like, let's call it a lack of maturity, perhaps. I guess
Yeah.
that's what we could, or like a self-awareness or a wherewithal about how what you are saying or doing impacts those around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that like the people that, and again, I can't specify where this person worked with D'Lo, but it was later in his career. And when this dropped, this guy was like, yeah, this tracks,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
D'Lo. It's D'Lo
Yeah.
being D'Lo. And,
Yeah. I'm
and
curious
like, by
though.
the
Yeah.
way,
Go ahead.
like,
Sorry.
I want to be clear, because like I'm getting a lot of this, right? So you got Schmidtke saying, thank you,
Yeah.
D'Lo. People finally speaking the truth. And Never Worried 24 is saying D'Lo was right. Ham's got to go ASAP, right? Schmidtke again, frustrated with D'Lo. Are you kidding? He and Brom can leave, or Ham can go, or whatever. And I'm sure that we'll keep on finding, the further and further I go into these comments, like I'm sure I'll find more people kind of siding essentially with D'Lo, because the stuff that he's saying aligns with how they feel about Darvin
But
Ham,
that's
right?
my
So
question though. What is siding with D'Lo? Like, I don't. What do you suspect? Because I don't have an answer to this. I don't know. Like, what's the point? If you're D'Lo, what is the point other than pettiness and an axe to grind and whatever? Like, what is the point? What is he hoping to accomplish?
well, I thought it was interesting that he went back to his negotiations with the Lakers, right? And there was a lot of space in that article spent on his impending free agency and the
Mm-hmm.
process that got him to this point.
But
And
does he
so,
think this is a way to help those potential negotiations this coming off season? This wouldn't seem like a particularly good tactic for that, if that's
doesn't
what
seem
you're.
like it to me either. No, I don't, that's not what I would advise him
Yeah,
to
that's
do.
why
Right? Like,
I
if,
don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand. Right. And if he wants to, he's a free agent next in the offseason if he wishes to be.
I mean, like, his
Yeah, I
whole
don't get
thing,
it.
here's what I'll say. His whole thing, basically, since he started playing better this year, you had Darius write about it, you've had him talk about it, you've had all this stuff, and like D'Lo's kind of mantra this year is like, bleep it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Bleep everybody, bleep it, bleep all this stuff, bleepity bleep bleep bleep. Like, I'm just gonna go out there and I don't care, right? I'm gonna care less, I'm gonna play better, right? Was
Mhm.
a literal thing he said
Yes.
in
Think less.
that
Yeah.
thing.
Play more. Yeah. Yep.
And so like I think this is kind of a continuation of that mantra, a continuation of that, like, you know what? Screw it. I have stuff to say. I'm going to say this about Darvin Ham. I thought it was bullshit that he benched me in that Western Conference Finals, and I think he benched me because he has a better relationship with Dennis Schroeder. Never mind the fact that I wouldn't shoot in that series, and never mind the fact that the Denver Nuggets went out of their way to take me out of the series and did so successfully. It was all Dennis's fault, right? And like, yeah, this is where it's kind of funny, right? Because like whenever you and I talk about leaks, we always say like, all right, what does
Yeah.
What does somebody have to gain by leaking this information?
Right.
This isn't so much leaking as it is like going and standing out on top of a mountaintop with a giant ass microphone and
Right.
like the
This isn't
biggest
leaking. This
speakers
isn't
ever. It's
leaking.
like,
This is not leaking. This is snitching.
I think so. And this is where, again, I would go back to, there are aspects of this that clearly I agree with, right? I do think it's been bad that Darvin Ham is so clearly played favorites, not just like based off of what I know about the situation, but also based off of like what we could all just see and how minutes are doled out, who has a green light, who has more leeway and more rope to mess around on, and all of those things. And I think we can agree that those have been issues, but I also think we can agree that D'Lo handled this kind of poorly. And then when you do it that way, and that is the way that you go about this, and then afterward, hours after this thing drops, you play your worst game of the season.
Yeah, he was not good last night.
It's just like to your point, Aaron, if he's doing all of this to kind of like, I don't know if it's to gender or get himself more favor and gender favor with the Lakers fan base or with the organization or whatever. But like the last 24 hours, if I am not just the Lakers, but any team, the Lakers had momentum before he did that interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that he took
and
away
largely because of how well
momentum.
he was playing, by the way.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna say like care less, play better, or care less, play more, okay, fine. Care less about Dennis and leave that in the past and play more. Endear, thank you.
No,
endear himself.
you had it right. Is engender. You had it right.
Well,
he could endear himself to the fan base, but he was trying to engender support.
Yeah,
that is correct. Yes.
But like that's kind of how live radio, everybody, like take it in, baby.
But, again, to the here's what I would ask you and what I would ask D'Lo. I haven't talked to him obviously since any of this. And everybody in the chat, you put some of them up. Everybody watching live on YouTube, thank you, and always support everything that Anthony does. I appreciate that.
The stuff that we do. You're
yes, all that too.
All access
like
link.
Okay, like even if D'Lo and you, Anthony, and everybody in the comments here in the chat, and everybody watching on YouTube, and everybody that's gonna listen to this on Odyssey later, or wherever you get your podcasts. See, I'm a professional broadcaster. To all of you, I still don't understand what the point is. None of you think that Darvin Ham is getting fired today.
Yeah.
So and I don't even think anybody thinks he should. Even if you want Ham gone with all of your heart, do you want him gone today? You think that the Lakers would be better today?
Yes, I do, but it's not happening.
For whom?
I've been saying all year, Phil Handy.
Everybody that okay, but fine. Everybody that is an assistant coach is an assistant because Darvin wants them to be an assistant. Right? They're all there because Darvin wants them there. So, you're not going to change systems now with 15 games to go. That's not how this works.
No,
so I don't know what the point is. Darvin's not going anywhere. Now,
this year.
In the next 15 games or whatever it is, Darvin's not getting fired. Whatever I think of him, whatever you think of him, whatever anybody thinks of the job he has done, that just doesn't happen. And it's not going to happen.
What I will say is, and this is where a consistent kind of theme of Rob Pelinka's tenure, I think, continues to bite him in the butt. In that, with Russell Westbrook, it was like, well, the deals aren't good now. The situation isn't perfect right now. We're going to wait until the situation gets better or gets closer to perfect, and then we'll trade him then, right?
Wait. We don't like the deals now. We're going to wait.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Okay. That's all folded into the situation.
Okay. Which ended up being the right decision.
Yeah, but it also it really shrunk the margin for error, and it put that team, at serious risk. And frankly, cost Frank Vogel his job. Like the amount of time that Russell Westbrook was still a Laker, really impacted the way that the organization felt about Frank Vogel. The other one that kind of comes to mind in this trend is with D'Angelo Russell, right? Well, all right, we're going to sign him to this deal, and we're going to hope that we'll see what we could do in the next few days after we agree to the deal. We'll see if we can move him. Right deal doesn't come up. All right, we're going to wait till the deadline, or we're going to wait till December. Then we're going to wait till the deadline, and we're going to wait till this, right? And like this continuing kicking the can down the road, I think makes those situations less and less tenable. And I think with D'Angelo Russell now, he knows, like, he has quite a bit of leverage on the Lakers going into this year. Either he opts in.
You mean going into the offseason?
Yeah, going into the offseason. Yeah. Either he opts in. I think the Lakers would probably prefer he opts in at this point, because then he becomes an expiring deal that they can move at the deadline. So either he opts in or he opts out, and you risk losing him for nothing when you could have turned him into additions to your roster at this last deadline. And however people feel about giving up a first rounder for both Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal, whatever, like, that's besides the point to me. It's the fact that you passed on that opportunity to keep this guy in the locker room, and now he's going into this offseason. If he opts out, you kind of sort of have to pay him so that opportunity cost isn't that bad. And I don't know how comfortable the Lakers are paying him. And like all the last 24 hours or so has done is remind them why they might not. All that's missing from the last 24 hours or so is some phantom injury and a game time decision to not play in the next game. That's all that's missing from the D'Angelo Russell experience. You've got the great game, you've had the okay game, you've had the terrible game, you had the terrible quotes, and then now all it's missing is like a paper cut that takes him out for a week or so.
Well, to be fair, Saturday is the Warriors, and that is a former team of his. So, perhaps he will get the sniffles.
Yeah, well, but so like that's like, if I'm the Lakers, I've kind of backed myself into a corner here, right? Rob has kind of backed himself into a corner, just like he kind of sort of did with Rob or with Darvin, where this upcoming year or this upcoming offseason, I think you and I are probably in agreement that this season isn't going to reach the expectations that we had going into it, right?
I do not think the Los Angeles Lakers are good enough to win an NBA title this season. Is that what you're looking for?
Well, even your expectations, even if your expectations weren't to win the championship this year, I think they're going to fall. Like I think they're going to have a worse outcome to the season than they had last year with a better roster.
I do not. Yes, I would be surprised. I don't think it's off the table, but I would be surprised if the Lakers made the Western Conference Finals. Here's it. This is pretty simple. Like, I don't know how many teams I would favor the Lakers to beat in a series. I mean, look, at this point, the Lakers are going to have to win 2 games to get into the playoffs. Like 2 do or
possibly
die games
2 road games,
2 do or dies to get into the
one of them against Steph, one of them against Luka potentially.
Yeah,
just
Luka,
to get to the playoffs.
Luka or KD. Because as of right now, Sacramento is ahead of Phoenix, and Phoenix is getting the doors blown off them by the Celtics as we speak.
Made a bit of a comeback here, but yeah, it's over.
So I would be surprised if the Lakers were able to make a run similar to last year. But kind of here's my encapsulation of the Lakers going into this playoffs. Let's assume that the Lakers make the playoffs. My encapsulation is kind of the same as it was last year. The Lakers have a chance against anybody except Denver. So the Lakers can last as long as they don't have to play Denver. If somebody else beats Denver, then look, everything is on the table for the Lakers. The Lakers are not beating Denver in a series. If somebody else beats Denver for them, then the Lakers can beat anybody.
But everything being on the table also the negative of that is true too, right?
Well, that's why I just said
Everything being on the
the Lakers are going to have to win two games, like 2 do or die games in a row just to make the playoffs. So yes,
yeah.
at this point, it looks
we
like
should
the
also
Lakers are going to be in the losers bracket of the play-in.
We should also maybe include the Kings into that equation too. Teams that the Lakers just can't beat.
Fair. Fair.
So yeah, I also want to though, and what I was going to say though is that like if the Lakers fall short of expectations this year, and we've had this conversation, so we don't need to go back down that path, but if we go back down, if the Lakers fall short of expectations this year, it'll be because either this roster wasn't as good as we thought it was, which reflects poorly on Rob, the person who put the roster together, or this roster was as good as we thought it was, but was hampered all year by Darvin Ham and his coaching staff, which also reflects poorly on Rob Pelinka.
Well, look, multiple things can be true at the same time, right? Like the roster, like that's fair. Either the roster is good enough or it isn't, and either Darvin is coaching well enough or he isn't. Those, there's some combination of those things.
There's probably a combination, yeah.
Yeah, there's some combination of those things, and like this is going to sound like excuse making, but it's not. Like it's just the reality. The Lakers have been healthier than I thought that they would be. With like D'Lo hasn't really missed any time, Austin hasn't missed any time, AD and LeBron have both been like as healthy as you could, even more healthier than you could reasonably expect.
Sure, yeah.
But like I don't know what Gabe is the 8th best player on the roster or something like that. Vando is the
7th,
6th, 7th, somewhere in there probably, and Cam maybe shouldn't be playing at all. But the combination of those 3 guys being in and out in the lineup and mostly out of the lineup, is a cascading effect, or it's like a multiplying effect, because those are the 3 best point of attack defenders on the roster. And so the fact that all of them are out, I think in combination means more than just you're missing your 8th best, your 7th best, and your 11th man. Because that has been one of the big problems. Like, look at the Kings. Yesterday was not as bad, but the last Kings game, what was it, a week or so ago here in LA? It was just Austin. The entire game was Austin and D'Lo can't guard Fox and Monk.
Yeah,
and the Lakers don't have any options for that right now. So I do think injuries feels like an excuse, and that's an excuse Darvin has made. But I do think that needs to be part of the whose fault is this? Is the roster good enough or not? Has Darvin coached well enough or not conversation?
We knew that those were going to be problems going into the trade deadline, and it was a choice not to address those issues, point of attack and all of those things. Hell, like you can go back to the offseason and the way that they went about this offseason, and they gave themselves fewer tools by which to improve this roster by hard capping themselves for Gabe Vincent and Taurean Prince. Those are choices that were made. And again, like, those choices had ramifications. Do I think it was fair to assume that the Lakers would lose all of their point of attack defenders and that Darvin wouldn't play the other one in Max? Probably not.
I mean, Max is okay, but he only seems okay. Max is okay, but he seems okay because the 3 guys that are better than him are gone.
Yeah, but that's the point I made. Is that like you had your 3 best ones, and then your 4th one can't get off the bench because Darvin plays favorites. So yeah, I don't know. All of this is to say, and we'll see what the ramifications are and what the fallout is. And by the way, we may not see the actual fallout of this until this offseason, right? Where the Lakers may kind of come to a conclusion, even if D'Lo opts in, we can't have this guy in the organization next year because he's willing to go and blowtorch everything while, by the way, we're actually playing decent basketball. Like, no matter when the quotes actually came out, and they happened to come out yesterday, he did this interview. He sat down for this interview while the Lakers were on one of their better stretches of basketball of the season. And he was still willing to throw Darvin under the bus and throw Rob under the bus too.
My guess is this was not like one sit down. This was Mac
Yeah.
10 got this over, this was over a few conversations, and my guess is this was pieced together over
Yeah.
several conversations,
Well, sure,
weeks, a
like
month,
as
months,
well as like
whatever.
the reporting on the peripheries of the conversation too, right? Like corroborating stories and all of that stuff as well. So, but it like that whole process probably still took place while the Lakers were playing some of their best basketball of the year, not counting the in-season tournament.
Well, I mean, look,
And
certainly it was referenced. One of the references in the piece is about LeBron being out and Rob telling D'Lo to go get 40 in the Bucks game, and when he had 44. So yeah, I mean, it was at least happening then. Yes.
And I also need to say, I find D'Lo fascinating. Like he is a kind of emotionally intelligent and emotionally aware that you just don't normally get from athletes. Part of that is why he can kind of rub guys the wrong way because
Wait.
what?
This strikes me as like completely devoid of emotional intelligence. It's a
No, his
willingness to
own.
say whatever.
His own. I think he's very aware of like how he feels all the time, and he's willing to
Got it.
address how he
Got it.
feels all the time.
Got it.
The impact that has on other people. I think he's a very
Right.
selfish dude. I think he's
Yeah. Okay.
narcissistic
Got it.
too.
Okay. Got it.
But like I think he's a really fascinating guy. I also think he's a really fun basketball player to watch play when he has it going. But like I said last night, that gap between when he has it going and when he doesn't have it going, I mean, shit. I'm only putting my hands here because that's the
So they're still
acceptable
in the
window.
frame. That's as far as they can go and
right.
still be in the frame.
What it actually is like, all right, here's D'Lo at his best, and then it's like way down here somewhere, like the floor, and I, it's just that's the aspect of this that's been frustrating is that like Lakers fans, for some reason, I didn't get this memo that all of a sudden we were all supposed to stand D'Lo at every turn. I didn't get that memo. I missed that one. But like what's frustrating is that the Lakers, there's a type of player that the Lakers need in that spot, right? It's a better defensive presence, a point of attack defender who does not have such a gap between their peaks and valleys, right? They need a steady defensive presence there who can knock down open shots. The annoying thing here is that it's KCP, like the perfect player that the Lakers could have next to Austin Reeves in that starting five would be KCP. But the when the Lakers address however they are going to address this and move forward with or without D'Angelo Russell, like I'm really curious the impact that this piece is going to have on it, because not only like the rest of the organization, the guys that he specifically threw under the bus, whether that's Darvin or Rob, the rest of those guys in that locker room, again, no matter how you feel about like whether what D'Lo was saying about Darvin is right, that's besides the point. He crossed the line here and he gave up information from film sessions to a reporter, went on the record on it. And that is not something that players normally do. That locker room, those film sessions, practice sessions, weight room, all of that stuff is supposed to be sacred. And if you're a player there, why are you like why would you have any trust that what you say to D'Lo from here on out isn't going to come out? He isn't going to put his name and go ahead, whether it's on his podcast, whether it's in an interview to Dave here or an interview to somebody else. I mean, shit, after the game last night, he was like, he picked up right where he left off. And like, he very clearly had a problem with the way that Rui Hachimura wasn't used in the second half. And by the way, I agree, but you can't follow up the piece that you played such an active role in by then shitting on your coach again when you play as poorly as he did.
Yeah. I mean, yes, right? Like, it goes from being there's probably people looking at you a little crooked, D'Lo, to like it's just a bad look in general. Like even people who are on the side of pro what he said, like it's just a bad look. Like D'Lo, you can't you can't like go and try to light the world on fire and you know, burn people to the ground, right? Burn the bridges, proverbial bridges, and then go score 6 points or whatever it was in a game that, look, I always say this. I say this on Alexis Lakers. I've said it here. I say it all the time. I don't believe in must-win games until mathematically you're going to be eliminated if you don't win. But if the Lakers were hoping
There's a lot of need to have them.
Yes. If the Lakers were hoping to get out of the 9-10 portion of the bracket and frankly, probably stay ninth, even just to say ninth, because the Warriors have a very easy schedule coming and have 2 games against the Lakers, a much easier schedule than the Warriors have a much easier schedule than the Lakers, play 2 against each other and have the same number of losses, I believe. Maybe the Warriors have 1 more, but I think they're tied in the loss column. So even just to say 9th and not 10th, last night was a big one. And it basically removes 7th, and it doesn't remove, but it makes the path to 7/8 very, very difficult. So as much as there can be a must win, or without it actually being a must win, or to use your parlance, I gotta have it. Like D'Lo, you can't go out there and have what did he finish with? 6 points, I think.
Yeah,
get six more points than you and me.
His first 7 or 8 shots too.
Yeah, I think it was 6 at least. Yeah,
turned the ball over, a bunch of air balls too. Gary makes this point here, and we'll move off of it afterward. I actually think the Swaggy P incident is a good comparison here.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at earlier.
Yeah, like Swaggy P doesn't want his business out there. He probably shouldn't be telling D'Lo, while D'Lo very clearly seems to have his phone out, about his business, right?
No, but it's a violation of the
Well, I know.
Yeah.
If, like, by the way, Swaggy was the bigger guy, he was the older guy, he could have beat the shit out of D'Lo and broken his phone there. Like, and D'Lo would have had it coming, right? You can't record that that conversation there. Let alone, by the way, let alone the next step that he took there, which was airing it out to everybody.
That's the real one. That's the real violation.
Right. And well, but like this is now a couple instances where these private situations, these things that these players in this culture really holds as important, they now make their way out to the public with D'Lo's name either attached to it, like verbally in that piece, or literally by his social media account, right?
Yeah, that's why I questioned you when you said his emotional maturity. Yeah, I mean, if you want to say he's emotionally mature because he's understands himself and he's willing to talk about wherever he is, honestly, whatever he's feeling, honestly, fine. But like his unwillingness to consider the feelings of anybody else, is not great. It's, to use your, I mean, you call them narcissistic. Yes, that's probably it. But also, like, I mean, it's, I can never, what is it? You know what? I don't want to, I'm not going to say that about D'Lo.
It's selfish.
It's selfish. It's narcissistic. And it's just like, it's just a violation. I am sure he had, even with people that, like, even some of his teammates, and look, I haven't talked to anybody since this came out. I mean, I haven't talked to any of the players since this came out. So even with people that even with teammates that maybe agree with him or agree with what his position, I would imagine he's not real popular right now among his teammates, just for the violation of, the code of the locker room.
Yeah. And that's the part of this that,
and by the way, this was a lot to do with, remember, Magic drafting the Swaggy P thing, and then this had a lot to do with Magic drafting Lonzo, and saying I need like a real point guard, somebody who can lead the locker room, all that kind of stuff. And I think he mentioned maturity also.
Yeah, well, he was also pissed at D'Lo for Byron being fired. Like I think that's actually something that he's on the record for, or that is reported very thoroughly, that Magic was, part of the reason and part of the math that he traded D'Lo and shat on D'Lo on his way out the door was that, he thought that Byron should have been able to continue coaching the team after Kobe was gone. We do have a couple super comments here, so I am going to scroll up and get to those. One of them is on a topic we're going to talk about later, so I'm going to come back to that one. This one is actually pertinent to what we're talking about here. So I'm going to play that, and then I'm going to play this bad boy. Justin Tyndall writes, don't know if you covered it yet, just tuned in, but Ham saying if Brown gave him his plays, they would have a chance. Ham is an absolute embarrassment to this organization. Why would players play hard for this guy? That was an accident.
A double fuck Boston?
You know what? It was an accident. They just won, so I want to make sure they don't feel too good about themselves.
All right.
But no, I'll say this. One, that quote appears to have been taken out of context. That he kind of joked about it or whatever. I did talk to some of the guys on the beat, and Jovan and I were just kind of like joking back and forth about it. That he appeared to be grasping for some kind of laughs to kind of lighten up the mood. And I kind of laughed because normally in that spot, when you say something that is that clearly a joke, normally beat reporters with the head coach that they have to get more information from moving forward overlaugh, right? Beat reporter overlaughing is a thing that I always chuckle at, right? It's like another version of tricks of the trade, right? And we saw Kendrick Perkins do this on camera, where what you'll do is you'll see two important people kind of talking off to the side, and you'll kind of open up your phone or pretend to be on your phone and then walk on over there and just kind of sit there and listen in on the conversation. And that's how some of this information just kind of makes its way over there.
What do you mean open up your phone? Are you rocking that Zach Morris? You got a flip phone still? What do you mean open up your phone?
No, I mean you literally do, and not literally, but when you hit open, it does unlock and open your phone. So
you got that old Motorola, the gray Motorola with the big battery, the Zach Morris.
With my
Look at that, Miles.
son right there.
Miles, yeah.
But no, it was one of those things that when it happened, the quote itself was whatever. It was a stupid quote. It was trying to bring levity to a situation that didn't need levity, and levity wasn't going to work. The part that I found really interesting there was that the reporters there did not meet him halfway. And it's just this is stupid. Can you just give us a quote? Can you actually give us some information here and not all of these cliches and whatever? Let's not just the sound of your own voice.
Darvin does talk with he does put some coach speak out there and goes he does a cliche.
That was really interesting to me, but I do think though that and I know that we aren't going to go into crazy detail here with you because for obvious reasons, but this is now reaching levels of noise that I am shocked that he has made it through to this point, given the amount of noise to this point, and B, this can't continue. There's just no way that if this is the locker room, if this is the core of the team next year, and we'll see what that even looks like. But if this is the main guys that you're moving forward with as a Lakers organization, I don't think there's any way that Darvin can get these guys back. If you have all of this coming out, and at no point have you gotten any support from players pushing back on reports from jackasses like me, this has been crazy. And I know that Jeannie and Rob feel a certain way about Darvin. Hell, I don't even think Darvin's a bad dude. I could see why they would like him, right? I think he's a fine dude to be around. I just don't think he is very good at his job. I think he's gotten bad input from some newly hired assistant coaches is how I'll put that. And
how
he's
diplomatic of you. How diplomatic of you.
I think he's run with it a little too adamantly, and it's really affected the way that this season has played out. And but there's just these guys are out on him, and it's really clear. I don't see how he continues moving forward. I've asked you this before. I'm not asking you about this specific situation for obvious reasons, but there's no way a coach who has lost the locker room to this extent gets it back, right? Even in the next calendar year. I told you to pour a bigger one. I got myself a nice little glass of wine. By the way, it's like
in a fancy glass. Look at that.
The first time that you and I have like had a drink together on the show in like a minute.
It is.
Cheers. Well, I would say cheers, but you ran out of drink.
Yeah, you don't cheers with an empty glass. So I'm going to give you the same answer I've given you before. People that have listened to this show, longtime listeners, people in the chat, whatever, will have heard me say this before, but I'm saying this because it's true. If, again, this is a big if Darvin has lost the guys to the level at which you are saying, I'm not saying he has or he hasn't, but if he has lost the guys to the level at which you have alluded to, reported, heard about, whatever, then no, I don't think it's. I think the Rubicon has been crossed.
Yeah, again,
I would. How about that? I would think the Rubicon has been crossed. Let me be clear.
Well, like I, Harrison and Jovan and other people, like Harrison especially, with some of the stuff that I've reported this year, is like, you're going to catch shit for this, right? Like, you don't, like, this kind of information doesn't make its way out there, and instead, like, even Jovan has come on this show and like paused the show to give me credit for the way that I've done reporting on this team this year. And all that he did after I reported the stuff that I did was further the story with even, greater detail and more specifics on where he's getting his stuff. And then after that, after like another version of mine, and then another couple of other pieces that have come out here that have been pretty enlightening on the extent to which I think Darvin has lost this locker room. You get D'Angelo Russell, starting point guard of the Los Angeles Lakers, put his name to all of that stuff. All of the stuff that I've been reporting all year, the favoritism, the poor communication, the bad schemes, the mistrust from players with Darvin about his schemes. Like, he basically said all of the stuff that you guys have reported, not on purpose, but he said all of the stuff that has been reported about this team so far this year. Yeah, it's true.
Do you have a blood feud with Mac 10 now? Do you have bring me into the insider game? Do you have a blood feud? He got him to go on record. He got D'Lo on record with saying some of the stuff that you I want, like, I needed to be the I don't remember which Batman movie it is, but I need the Joker like breaking the pool cue, in front of the two guys. Like, there's only room for one of you in my organization. No,
I actually,
you're not going to stab Mac 10 with a broken pool cue.
I reached out to Dave. I sent him a DM. I said, that was an incredible piece. Great work on getting those quotes. They were incredible.
Good.
Just like when
David says his insider is Pete from LFR. I can assure you it isn't. I can promise you it's not.
It is not. I would never use Pete. He's too close of a friend. All right. So yeah, let's move on really quickly. We have a little bit of time here. Because I do want to actually talk about basketball, but for whatever reason, whether it's physicality, whether it's skill, whether it's a combination of those things and what those teams' guards can do to the Lakers guards, the Lakers really seem to struggle with, or not seem to, they do struggle with. They are getting their ass kicked regularly by the Sacramento Kings and the Denver Nuggets, right? Both of those teams have these big, hulking, physical bigs who are very capable passers, and they have guards who can rip to shreds the Lakers' point of attack defenders. And I think those two things really kind of lend itself to why the Lakers look so out of sorts against those two teams. The person that looks the most out of sorts is Anthony Davis. I think it's because he is asked to do the most defensively, and because I think he's the most kind of mental of the Lakers players. and really allows the way that the game is going to impact the way that he plays. And my question to you, Aaron, is there anything that the Lakers can realistically do at this point to give themselves a better shot against, whether it's Jokic, whether it's Sabonis, whether it's Nurkic, who gave AD problems the last time they played, whether it's Zubats, who has played well against AD in the past? Like, is there
Şengün,
anything that the
Embiid.
Lakers can, like these bigger guys, is there anything that the Lakers can do to help out AD so that those matchups aren't so negative in the other team's favor, or positive in the other team's favor?
No. I mean, well, let's put.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Lakers Lounge.
I mean, let's put Embiid and Joker aside, right? Because nobody has a chance against those dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically Joker, like just nobody. Nobody can check that dude. So we'll put them aside. I do think there is something about the physicality, the strength, the size, the low center of gravity that the guys you mentioned, Nurkic, Şengün, Sabonis, those kind of guys. I do think there is something there. Big Zoo. I do think there is something there. And when AD is not able to get his offense going, when he's not feeling it offensively, where he's making, face-up jumpers and using his handle to get around people and get to the rim, he tends towards trying to bully. He tries to just play bully ball.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work against those guys.
No.
So he ends up settling for worse shots than he's used to. I also think part of it is, and I separated Joker and Embiid for a reason. I also think there is something about AD, and part of this is human nature, but I think there is something about AD where he sees himself look, AD's not as good as Joker or Embiid, but he is damn good, and AD is a very reasonable All-NBA candidate for this season, which now that there's no positions means he's one of the 15 best players in the NBA, with the caveat that he's one of the 15 best players that has played 65 games in the NBA.
Yeah.
And so,
which, by the way, is fine with me.
I think
you can't be one of the 15 best players and not play 65 games. You can't miss a quarter of your season and not be one of the top 5 players or whatever players in the NBA.
You and I don't entirely agree on this, but that's for another time.
Yeah.
I do think that when there's a level, and like those guys, Sabonis, and Sabonis has been an all-star. He wasn't this year, right? But no. He's been an all-star. Şengün has become that level of player this year. Nurkic he's not going to guard anybody, but he's pretty damn good, and Zoo is very solid. So, but those guys are not on the level of AD. And so I think that that's part of it too, is that AD, I think, takes a breath against those guys, and relax. It's human nature because AD is just better than them. And he kind of relaxes, I think. And those guys are so physical, and AD can't bully them the way he is used to bullying most people around the league, that I think it puts him in bad habits. So the question then becomes, can you get a big dude to play next to AD? You can, but that guy is going to be really difficult to find. And the reason is AD can't shoot. You can't play AD at center. At power forward, because he can't shoot. And that in the NBA now, that doesn't work. You can't have, unless you have, it's kind of like the Evan Mobley problem, right? Is you're playing him. Evan Mobley's damn good. He's a really good defensive player. And, when he plays next to Jared Allen, who is also a damn good player, and neither of them can shoot, the offense just clogs up. So it's that, like, unless you can find somebody who can shoot it as a center, which was kind of the Marc Gasol idea a couple years ago.
It looked so good before Mark got sick.
Also because Mark is a hell of a passer and can take some of that, was able to take some of that load off of LeBron, passing from the top of the key and the high post, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So unless you can find somebody that can shoot, and there are not a lot of those around, available, at least with the mechanisms that the Lakers will be able to get either via trade or in free agency, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, Miles Turner, I know people are going to go with there as a possibility. I'm always going to be kind of I think is going to be one of those what if situations kind of moving forward. Kelly Olynyk, I think is probably going to. Well, he signed an extension, so I don't think he's trade eligible this summer.
He did sign an extension. That is correct.
So I don't think he's trade eligible.
He will be trade eligible in this offseason, but they didn't sign him to trade him. If he signed the extension, he will be, yes. Not agreed to. If he already signed it, he will be able to be traded.
I think he signed it. I think he officially signed it.
So but it's they didn't sign him to trade him in the offseason.
Well, I mean, I think it would help to, I think if they get the right offer, he's the kind of player though that we're talking about, right?
Yeah, but do you want to play Kelly Olynyk 32, 35 minutes a night?
No, that's high.
Right.
I'd say that's high.
So you're gonna have some of the
like there's
problem.
not
and the other issue to this is what I said before the season, right? When we talked about how much can AD play center, and is that going to be too much wear and tear on him? And AD has balked at the idea of him just being a center, less so for coming into this year as opposed to last year. But the other part of it is then who is LeBron going to guard? Because if you think LeBron is going to guard small forwards full time,
we saw it last night.
Career, if you think he's going to guard Kawhi and KD and whatever, all these apex predator, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all these apex predator threes, no, that's just no.
Yeah, I think what I would have liked for the Lakers to try to do with this last deadline is some kind of a marginal improvement on Hayes or Wood and try to turn those guys into a better and more stable, more consistent player, right? That way it's a backup. So it's not like you're expecting that player to play a whole bunch of minutes, and you can run with a team that doesn't space the floor very well. You could do that for 7-minute bursts here and there and maybe get away with it that way. But yeah, it was and now the news on Christian Wood has gone kind of silent. And we were supposed to get an update on Jared Vanderbilt this week. That also has gone silent. And so yeah, it's just it's one of those things where you kind of have to ask your all-world center. He meant be better.
That is the answer. I mean, you're not gonna like me saying this, or maybe you will, and the fans won't. But last night, the Lakers didn't lose because of Darvin Ham last night. The Lakers lost because LeBron and AD weren't good enough.
And D'Lo, yeah,
and D'Lo, fine, but D'Lo is not a max player. D'Lo is a good player. Sometimes offensively, he's a good player. Sometimes he's very, very good offensively, but he's not a max guy. LeBron and AD are the two max guys, and they just weren't good enough, period. Rui was damn good in the first half, but overall, Rui was good. Austin was damn good. Not enough LeBron and AD, period.
Yeah. I and it was tough. I was annoyed last night because I was really hoping with the way that series has gone between him and Sabonis that you would get a little bit more fight out of AD, right? What's the meme, right? Fight back. What's that movie from?
I don't know. I don't watch movies and I don't know memes.
That's true. But it was I'm watching, you had that play where DeMontis sticks his whole elbow into AD's face.
Elbowed him in the face. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just and then there was no real response there. And AD started the game shooting jump hooks at the rim or trying to shoot jump hooks at the rim. And he finished the game shooting 3-pointers. It was just come on, man, fight back, get up. I'm the older brother, I guess, so I've never experienced this, but younger brothers who have seen their older brother get their ass kicked or lose in something, right? It's get up, come on. You're supposed to be the superhero. Come on, do your thing. That's kind of how I felt watching Anthony Davis last night. And we'll see if that ever turns around in that specific matchup or with that archetype of player. Aaron, this has been a blast. I want to say this because this is one of those conversations where you are getting a really unique view at this situation and at these Lakers and at the way that the NBA operates because of Aaron's experiences. So I want to make sure you guys understand how lucky you are to have Aaron here, willing to share the kind of stuff that he shares and put up with my bullshit the way that he puts up with it. So Aaron, thank you very much for coming on today. It was a really fun and I hope informative conversation to those. Oh wait, no, did I get it? Shoot.
Did you get what?
Oh, there was another super comment. It was this one. Yeah. 80 is playing out of his position at the 5. I'm going to play this. I don't think he's playing out of position. I just think, like, for the vast majority of the matchups that he's going to see, he's not playing out of position. It's just that there are like 6 or 7 human beings on planet Earth who give him problems with this specific thing. And I think he needs to figure out a way to deal with it a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't like, he just isn't like, again, we just talked about this a couple minutes ago, but AD is not a 4 anymore. AD is plainly a 5.
He can't shoot.
He can't shoot. And if you are going to play him at 4 next to a starting center, then that puts LeBron at 3 defensively, and that just can't happen. And people in the chat are talking about, AD in college, he was a power forward, and early in his career, he had some success in New Orleans as a power forward.
40 pounds ago.
And he had success as a power forward in the Lakers championship. Yeah, that was 4 years ago at this point. So that's not
go back. Do me a favor.
That is not the guy anymore. That is not. He is not that guy anymore. And LeBron. It's also, again, there's a domino effect. It's also 4 years later in LeBron's career, and 4 years and all those miles on LeBron's legs where he is not able to guard small forwards anymore.
The thing I would ask everybody who keeps on doing the whole AD should just play power forward thing, do me a favor. There's a YouTube highlight set on the first game that AD played. It was against the Clippers. And watch the way that he is moving in that game and compare it to the way that he moves nowadays. And like you said, Aaron, it's 4 years after the fact. He has gained probably like 30 pounds since then, on purpose to a certain extent, but also just because he's older now. And the stuff that he is doing in that game, like not just in terms of like finishing at the rim and attempting to finish stuff at the rim or contesting stuff at the rim, but the way that he's shooting the ball looks a lot more fluid back then. Like, it is insane how different that player is compared to the player that we see now. That isn't to say that AD isn't still good. I still think
he's incredible.
Yeah, he's still like for my money, he's the guy who I would want anchoring my defense in the modern NBA, period. It's like him. You could throw Bam in there. You could throw Draymond in there. And that's about it. Gobert, I guess, also.
Yeah, but Gobert's not as is not as versatile as the other 3 guys that you mentioned.
Yeah. But like, all that said, this guy, is not the same offensive player. And it's not as simple as we'll just slide him over to power forward and you'll get better, I think, potentially defensively, but you're going to get way worse offensively. And
but again, I'm not sure you do get better defensively because
maybe
you have to have LeBron guarding Kawhi Leonard 40 minutes a night, or Jason Tatum, or whoever. Yeah, whatever. Pick Apex Predator wing, KD or Giannis, or like that. That just doesn't work. LeBron somewhere between can't and won't do that anymore.
Yeah. All right, though, like I was saying, though, please do follow Aaron on Twitter at Aaron Larsoul. Follow our show, All Access Lakers, where you can watch the Lakers games with us on there occasionally. And then, Aaron, I really, really do appreciate the amount of candor and access that you give this show and, everywhere else that people can find your work. I greatly, greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother.
All right, that is going to do it. We have a happy hour tomorrow if my voice holds up. And until then, I'm Anthony Irwin. That is Aaron Larsoul. This has been the Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your evening. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Hopefully. I'm going to drink all kinds of hot teas and stuff or
Hopefully.
wine. We'll see.
Whiskey.